Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like time is slipping away? The face staring back at you. It's not quite the same as the one you remember. The lines around your eyes, the silver strands in your hair, the subtle shift in the way your body moves. Maybe it's not just the physical changes. Maybe it's the feeling that the world is moving on without you. Friends don't call as often. The things that once felt exciting now seem distant, almost like they belong to someone else's life. Aging can feel like a slow unraveling, like a quiet loss of the person you used to be. But is aging really the enemy? Or is the real struggle in the way we resist it? Buddhism teaches that suffering doesn't come from getting older. It comes from holding on to what must inevitably change. We suffer because we cling to youth, to the past, to a version of ourselves that no longer exists. But life, by its very nature, is impermanent. Everything flows. Nothing stays the same. The more we try to fight this, the more we fill our hearts with frustration, regret, and fear. The Buddha called this dukkha, the suffering that arises when we resist the nature of things. But there's another way. What if aging wasn't something to fear? What if, instead of seeing it as a slow decline, we saw it as a transformation, a deepening, rather than a fading? The truth is, the more we surrender to the natural rhythm of life, the more peace we find. Because aging isn't something happening to us, it's something happening through us. And when we stop resisting it, we begin to experience something unexpected: freedom. So today, I want to share 5 profound Buddhist insights that will completely shift the way you see aging. These aren't bitter truths, they're liberating ones. Because getting older isn't about losing, it's about evolving. It's about stepping into a version of yourself that is wiser, more present, more in tune with what truly matters. And once you embrace this, you'll begin to realize time isn't taking something from you. It's revealing something deeper. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see the rest of your life. Lesson 1. The more you fight aging, the more you suffer. Have you ever watched an old photograph of yourself and felt a strange sense of loss? The version of you in that picture. It feels so familiar, yet so distant. The smooth skin, the bright eyes, the energy of youth. You look at yourself now, and something inside you resists. Aging isn't just about wrinkles or gray hair. It's about watching the things you once knew start to shift. Your body doesn't respond. The same way, people around you change. The world keeps moving forward. And deep inside, there's a quiet fear. Am I being left behind? But is it really aging that causes suffering? Or is it our resistance to it? There's a famous Zen story about a wise old monk and a young disciple. One evening, the young monk sat in deep frustration. He had spent the entire day struggling to carry water from the river to the monastery. He used to do it with ease, but now, his body felt weaker. The buckets felt heavier. The work took longer. The old master noticed his frustration and handed him a cracked clay pot. "This pot," he said, "once held water perfectly. Now it leaks. Does that mean it is useless?" The young monk looked at the pot and shook his head. "No, master, it still holds some water." The master smiled. "And does the water that escapes truly disappear?" "No, it nourishes the earth. The pot is not as it once was, but it still serves its purpose." The monk sat in silence, realizing the lesson. His body had changed, but that did not mean he had lost his value. Buddhism teaches that suffering doesn't come from aging itself. It comes from our attachment to how we believe things should be. The Buddha called this dukkha, the struggle we create when we resist the natural flow of life. Society glorifies youth. It tells us that as we grow older, we become less attractive, less capable, less relevant. But this is an illusion. Life is never stagnant. It is constantly moving, like a river that never flows backward. The more we try to swim against the current, wishing we were younger, resenting the passing years, the more exhausted we become. But what if, instead of fighting the current, We let it carry us. What if we stopped seeing aging as something being taken from us and started seeing it as something being given? The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung once said, "Aging is not a matter of lost youth, but a new stage of psychological growth." Science supports this as well. A Harvard study found that people who embrace aging with a positive mindset live longer, experience less stress, and enjoy a greater sense of fulfillment. The way we perceive aging shapes our experience of it. And this is where we hold power. We may not be able to stop time, but we can change the way we move through it. So, let go of the illusion that youth was the best version of you. You are still unfolding. You are still growing. The fear of aging is not about age. It's about attachment to the past. And the moment you release that attachment, you stop aging as a loss and start aging as an awakening. Pushpin, aging is not something happening to you. It's just life unfolding. Lesson 2. Your body changes, but you are more than your body. You used to run up the stairs without a second thought. Now, your knees hesitate. You used to carry heavy groceries effortlessly. Now, your arms feel the strain. The body that once felt invincible now moves with caution, reminding you in small, subtle ways that it is no longer the same. And it's frustrating, isn't it? You didn't ask for this. You didn't wake up one day and decide to let go of the strength, speed, and energy you once had. It just started slipping away, little by little, almost like a betrayal. But is your body really betraying you? Or is it simply following the natural rhythm of life? There's a famous story about an old samurai warrior who, after years of battle, finally retired to a monastery. One day, he struggled to carry a bucket of water up the steps. A young monk saw him and said, "Master, it must be frustrating to feel weaker than before." The samurai chuckled. "Frustrating? No. This body has served me well for many years. It has carried me through war, through victories and defeats. It has healed from wounds and endured hardships. And now it is telling me to slow down. Why should I be angry at something that has been so loyal to me?" That's a powerful perspective, isn't it? Because here's the truth. Your body is not your enemy. It is your oldest, most faithful companion. It has carried you through childhood mischief, through heartbreaks and celebrations, through every victory and every loss. It has healed from sickness, endured stress, and adapted to everything life has thrown at it. It has never abandoned you. But how often do we abandon it? If you had a friend who had been by your side through every hardship, every challenge, every moment of joy and pain, would you resent them for growing old? So why do we do that to our own bodies? Buddhism teaches us that suffering arises when we resist reality. The problem is not aging itself. It is our attachment to youth. We cling to our former selves, resisting the inevitable, and in that resistance, we suffer. The Buddha called this dukkha, the suffering we create when we refuse to accept the nature of life. But what if, instead of resenting our bodies for changing, we showed them gratitude? What if, instead of fighting time, we honor the body that has carried us this far? Science supports this as well. A study from the National Institute on Aging found that people who practice self-compassion toward their aging bodies experience better physical health, reduced stress, and even slower cognitive decline. The way we think about our bodies directly impacts our well-being. Even legendary boxer Muhammad Ali once said, "The man who views the world at 50 the same as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life." Life is not about staying the same. It's about growth, transformation, and wisdom. So, how do we age well? Not by trying to be who we were, but by caring for who we are now. Move your body gently. Feed it well. Rest when it needs rest. Treat it as a wise old friend, rather than a failing machine. Perhaps you cannot run as fast, but you can still walk. Perhaps you cannot lift as much, but you can still carry love, wisdom, and kindness. Your hands may shake, but they can still reach out in compassion. Instead of seeing your aging body as something that has turned against you, see it as something that has served you faithfully for decades. Your body has been your protector, your vehicle, your home, and now it deserves your respect, your care, and your patience. A frail body does not mean a frail spirit. As long as you have breath, you have purpose. Pushpin, your body is not your enemy, it is your oldest companion. Lesson 3. People will leave, but love remains. As you grow older, you begin to notice something heartbreaking. People drift away. Friends who once felt inseparable now seem like distant memories. Family members who used to call every day now check in only once in a while. Some people leave by choice. Others leave because life pulls them in a different direction. And some leave this world entirely. It's easy to take this personally. Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? Buddhism teaches us something profound. Everything in life is impermanent, including relationships. People come into our lives when we need them, and they leave when their role in our story is done. There's an old Buddhist parable about a traveler who stopped to rest under a great tree. He had walked a long distance and felt exhausted. The tree offered shade, a cool breeze, and a comfortable place to sit. He closed his eyes and rested. After some time, the wind shifted. The shade moved, and the tree no longer felt as comforting as before. The traveler grew frustrated. Why can't the tree stay the same? A wise old monk passing by saw his distress and smiled. The tree has given you all it could in this moment. It did not ask you to stay forever. It was meant to shelter you for a time. Now, your journey continues. People are like that tree. Some stay in our lives for years, offering shade, comfort, and companionship. Others enter for a short while, leaving before we are ready. But their presence, however brief, was still meaningful. We tend to believe that true love means forever, that real friendships never fade. But that's not how life works. Everything is changing, moving, evolving. Holding on too tightly to relationships, expecting them to stay the same, is like trying to grasp water in your hands. The more you cling, the more it slips through your fingers. But here's what we often forget. Love does not disappear just because someone is no longer beside us. Think about a friend you haven't seen in years. If you were to reunite today, wouldn't the warmth still be there? The laughter, the shared memories? That is because love, once created, does not vanish. It transforms. Even the people who have left your life shaped you in some way. A kind word they once said, a lesson they taught you, a moment of support when you needed it most. Their impact remains within you, woven into the person you have become. The poet Maya Angelou once said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Science supports this, too. Psychologists call it the enduring self, the idea that the relationships we build leave lasting imprints on our minds and hearts, even long after people have gone. Studies show that reflecting on past relationships in a grateful way, rather than with regret, leads to better emotional health and a stronger sense of self. So instead of mourning every lost connection, celebrate the ones that endure. Value the friend who still calls to check in. Appreciate the neighbor who smiles when you pass by. Cherish the grandchild who listens to your stories. And most importantly, don't close your heart to new relationships. Life is still offering you moments of connection, if only you remain open to them. If someone has drifted from your life, take a moment to reflect. Did they bring joy? Did they teach you something? Instead of mourning their absence, be grateful for what they added to your journey. Lightbulb, cherish those who stay, bless those who leave, and make space for new connections. Lesson 4. The true beauty of aging. Wisdom over vanity. There comes a moment when you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and realize you no longer look the way you once did. The skin is softer, the lines are deeper, the hair is lighter, and for a brief second, you wonder, where did the time go? Society teaches us to fight this, to erase wrinkles, to dye gray hair, to chase youth at all costs. Advertisements tell us that beauty is found in smooth skin, perfect features, and looking younger than our age. But what if we saw aging differently? There is a story of a sculptor who spent years creating a statue of the Buddha. He worked tirelessly, carving every detail with precision. When he finally finished, the statue was flawless, perfect symmetry, smooth features, untouched by time. People admired it, praising its beauty. Years later, a great storm swept through the village. The statue, exposed to the elements, developed cracks and worn edges. Some saw it as ruined. But when the sun rose the next morning, something incredible happened. The cracks caught the light, creating a radiant glow around the Buddha's face. The marks of time had made it more breathtaking than before. Buddhism teaches us that true beauty does not come from resisting change. It comes from embracing it. The marks of time do not make us less. They make us more. Think about the elders you admire. Were they beautiful because they looked young? Or because they carried themselves with wisdom, warmth, and grace? The twinkle in their eyes, the way they listen with patience, the kindness in their voice, that is real beauty. Psychologists call this the beauty paradox, the idea that while society values youth, the people we find truly inspiring are often those who have lived, learned, and aged with dignity. Studies have shown that people who embrace their aging appearance feel greater confidence, deeper self-acceptance, and increased overall happiness. In Japan, there is a philosophy called wabi-sabi, the appreciation of imperfections, the beauty in aging, the acceptance that nothing lasts forever. A cracked teacup is not thrown away. It is cherished for its history, for the story it carries. Our faces, our hands, our bodies, they are not losing beauty. They are gaining it in a different way. Imagine if we saw every wrinkle as a story, every silver strand as a lesson learned. Imagine if we celebrated the wisdom we've gained instead of mourning the youth we've left behind. The world tells us to fear aging, but Buddhism teaches us to see it as a privilege. Because every year, every mark, every change, it all means one thing. We are still here, still growing, still evolving. So the next time you catch your reflection and feel tempted to lament what's been lost, pause, look deeper, see the life you've lived, the love you've given, the wisdom you carry, and wear your years with pride, like a garment woven with experience and grace. Light bulb, true beauty isn't behind you. It's within you, growing stronger every day. Lesson 5. You will experience more loss, but love never dies. As the years pass, you will experience loss more often. People you love, friends, parents, siblings, even partners, will eventually leave this world. And no matter how much we prepare for it, no matter how much we understand that death is a part of life, nothing truly prepares us for the weight of that absence. The empty chair at the dinner table, the familiar voice that no longer calls, the laughter that once filled the room, now only an echo in your memory. Grief is not something we get over. It is something we learn to carry. But Buddhism offers a powerful truth. Love does not die. There is an old story of a lantern maker who lived in a small village. Each evening, he would light lanterns, placing them along the streets so that travelers could find their way home. As years passed, his hands grew weaker, and one day he passed away. His children mourned deeply. They missed his laughter, his wisdom, his warmth. But as night fell, something remarkable happened. The lanterns he had lit still burned, casting light onto the paths of those who walked through the village. A wise elder in the town said, "See, his light has not disappeared. It continues to guide others, just as his love continues to live in you." The people we love do not vanish when they leave this world. Their light remains. Think about someone you have lost. Maybe it was a parent whose lessons still guide you, a friend whose kindness shaped the way you treat others, a loved one whose laughter still echoes in your heart. They are not gone. Their love continues through you. Buddhism teaches that attachment causes suffering, but letting go does not mean forgetting. It means allowing love to transform into something that no longer brings pain, but brings peace. There is a famous Buddhist story about Kisa, a woman who lost her only child. She was so overcome with grief that she carried the child's body through the village, begging for someone to bring him back to life. Finally, she went to the Buddha, pleading for a miracle. The Buddha told her, "Go and bring me a mustard seed from a home that has never known death." With hope in her heart, she knocked on every door. But every family had lost someone: a parent, a sibling, a friend. By the time she returned to the Buddha, she had realized the truth. Grief is a thread woven into the fabric of life. No one is spared. We all must face loss. But the love we share, that never truly fades. Psychologists call this the continuing bonds theory, the idea that the people we lose remain a part of us. Studies show that when we honor those who have passed, not by holding on to sadness, but by carrying forward their love and lessons, we experience greater emotional healing and a deeper sense of connection. So when you miss someone, don't just mourn them. Live in a way that honors them. Carry forward their kindness, their laughter, their wisdom. Speak their name. Share their stories. Keep their light burning. Because love never dies. It flows through you, through your actions, through the kindness you offer to the world. And as long as you keep loving, those who have passed remain a part of you. Light bulb, the people we love never truly leave us. They live on through the love we continue to share. Conclusion: how to age with wisdom and grace. Aging is not a curse. It is a privilege. Think about it. There are people who never got to grow old. There are voices that went silent too soon. But you are still here, still breathing, still learning, still becoming. Every wrinkle is not a flaw. It is a story. Every gray hair is not something to hide. It is a testament to time well lived. Every change is not a loss. It is a transformation. We spend so much of life chasing the illusion of permanence. But life was never meant to be permanent. It is a journey, a river that keeps flowing. You have learned that suffering comes not from aging itself, but from resisting it. That your body is not your enemy. It is your most loyal companion. That people will leave, but love remains. That true beauty is not in youth, but in the wisdom and presence you carry. And that even in loss, love never truly dies. So now, I ask you, what will you do with these truths? Will you fight time, or will you embrace it? Will you dwell on what is gone, or will you celebrate what is still here? The truth is, you are not getting older. You are unfolding, becoming, evolving, and you are not alone on this path. This is a journey we all walk together. If this message spoke to you, I would love to hear your thoughts. What part of this lesson resonated with you the most? Share in the comments. I read every one. And if you found value in this, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Because wisdom is meant to be passed on. For more insights on living with peace, purpose, and mindfulness, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new lesson. And if this resonated with you, there's another lesson waiting for you. Click here and continue your journey.